I no longer had to go in the shower and scrub at my skin to make me feel clean. And I no longer had this like sick, nauseous feeling that I've been dealing with, and it was just like completely gone. It's like, oh, the power of God just hit me in that minute. It was so good.
You gotta live it, you gotta love it. Testimony goes on and on and on. It's magnetic, it's prophetic, it's God's stories being told.
Hey guys, the Jesus Magnet is now partnering with Witness merch. They've even got a Jesus Magnet tab on their site with our merchandise. Let's check out their video.
At Witness Merch, we're more than just a store. We're part of your faith journey.
Our mission is simple: to provide affordable and accessible Christian merch so you can wear your faith proudly.
Not only do we have a range of trendy Christian merch and gifts, but we also offer customization to reflect your faith.
And above all, every purchase helps gift God's word to others, spreading the gospel message wherever you go.
Hey, welcome back to the Jesus Magnet podcast. I'm your host, Joel, all the way from New Zealand, and today we have Neve Short. How are you doing, Neve?
I'm good.
Thank you for coming on to the show and here in person as well, which is always nice to utilize the studio in person. And Neve has been a wonderfully dear friend, family friend, her entire life to our family. Very, very close family. In fact, Neve's parents are my godparents, so I'm very keen to hear your story and your Christian walk, because I've been more or less around you the entire time.
Before I was born.
Yeah, yeah, before you were born, because there's, is it 16 years between you and the next sibling?
Just a few.
Yeah, so you were sort of the latecomer to the family, which is cool.
I was the surprise.
The surprise.
Yeah. I was always told that meant Mum and Dad never found out my gender. I was like, but you didn't find out the other two, so... No, I was truly a surprise.
I love that. So, Neve, you've grown up in Queenstown, New Zealand, your entire life. You finished high school now. How old are you now?
18.
18, and taking on the world, which is awesome. So I'm keen to hear sort of how you encountered God, because we've always been close. We've always gone to church together. We've, been literally... I've probably been to almost all of your parents' birthdays, some of yours, and but I personally don't actually know your story in the sense of how you encountered Christ, your walk up to that. Did you feel lost in those early years? I have no idea, because as family friends, sometimes there's, not that it's a facade, not a one on purpose, but you just know each other and you're comfortable around each other, and then then you realize, like, you don't, because there's like 20 years different, 16 years, whatever it is, difference between you and me. I must be close to Tessa's age, and I guess just haven't really sat down and gone, Neve, what's your story? Because I've kind of been there the whole time, but also the spiritual walk is such a different walk that everyone's gone through, and same thing. I've never sat down and shared kind of my story with you either. But that's kind of what the podcast is about. It's about being able to share your story once in a really good way. And then if anybody wants to hear it, it's such an accessible way to do it. And so I'm really keen. Let's hear it, Neve. Okay. I'll pass the mic over to you.
Ooh, okay. Well, obviously, I'm Neve. I'm 18. I grew up in a Christian family. And that's pretty much just my upbringing there. But my testimony all starts, I was just over the age of 5 or 6. I don't really know, to be honest. And I was up in Nelson for Christmas, and I just got my first bike, my Pony Express. It had pink and glitter and little tassels on the handlebars. But I was riding around this camping ground, and there was this lady, and she called me over. She's like, come here, come and meet my family. And so obviously, as a very young child, I didn't really understand that you weren't supposed to go up to random people. And so I went up to this lady, and she had a daughter who was just over my age, and it was just her and her daughter. and we got pretty close. You know, obviously my mum and dad, they found out that I went into some lady's cabin at this camping ground, and they weren't pleased, but I mean, I'd already done it then. And so they ended up coming down to Queenstown and living with us for a while, and their daughter, just a bit older than me, but some things happened there where I don't really know how to put it. For anyone listening, I've got like 12 pages of notes, and I've got it all written down. But yeah, it just started as a one-time thing that kind of became a bit of a habit. And I believe that the actions that, you know, she was putting onto me were a result of something that happened to her.
So was that like sexual actions that she was...
Yeah.
Wow.
Nothing like too explicit, but obviously enough that it affected me until today, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was always, you know, keep it a secret, don't tell anyone.
And was she your age or a little bit older, did you say?
Just a bit older.
Okay, wow.
Didn't expect that one coming, did you?
No, I didn't.
But this carried on until they moved away, which I can't remember when that was. But otherwise, I had a great life growing up, you know. I went to school, I went travelling, I became an auntie just before I was 9. We also went to a number of churches when I was growing up. We went to City Impact, the Sallies, C3, and this was all kind of around that time. But obviously I had a lot of built-up feelings over this time of what had happened. And so I was a very curious child. I started looking things up on the internet that I shouldn't have been. And by the time I was 10, I actually developed a porn addiction. And when I was 10, I also started getting severely bullied at school. I never really had great friends. And around the age of 10, we also stopped going to church.
Yeah. So it's such a common thing. I've heard this countless of times. You're not alone at all when it comes to porn addictions at young ages. It's so easily accessible. Pretty much everybody has access to all the porn that's ever been created in their pockets at all times. It's very, very easily accessible. And kids, for one, are very quick learners on how to access this stuff.
Yeah.
So it has, there's so many people that can get hooked pretty quick. Yeah. And your brain is still developing. Your brain is still trying to figure this stuff out. Sometimes it's a bit of a curiosity at the beginning, and then it's just that temptation, and it just something, it consumes your thoughts.
Yeah, it does, because growing up, like looking back at it now, I'm like, man, I grew up in this kind of little bubble where everything was so like hypersexualized.
Yeah.
And it really sucked.
And even just, I don't know if you've noticed this, but kids' TV programs and things like that, they actually are quite sexualized a lot of the time. I remember watching The Incredibles, which I love that movie.
Yeah.
And there's this one moment where the Mrs. Incredible's like looking at a bum in a mirror, and
it's just something so simple. That
and now as an adult, I'm going, what the heck was that?
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, we have that DVD with your name on it at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want that back. No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's all good.
So that was pretty much from, what did I say, just over 6 to 10. So now we get into when I was 11 to 14 years.
Yeah.
At this time, I didn't really have any friends. My best friend at the time had moved away.
Can I ask, before you get to that point, you had been going to church, you had been in a Christian household and things like that. Where was your relationship with God in the sense of those really young years? Was there a relationship with God, or was it more like church was something we did?
Church was something we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always did know, though, growing up, like, when I started looking things up, I always knew it was wrong in my heart, because that's just the way that I grew up. And, you know, these people that came to live with us, we did eventually get them going to church and stuff. So they were very much in the church culture, and so were we.
Yeah. And you can kind of see when you look back now as an adult that whoever this friend was, that, you know, absolutely would have been tricked in the same way that you were.
Yeah, for sure.
Just a little bit earlier, and it's a tricky one, because that's where that heart of grace does need to be there.
Yeah.
Because again, your brains actually aren't working as kids. They're not.
No.
They're not fully working.
No.
They are children's brains. That's why we don't let kids drive cars. For anybody listening, if you're offended by that, that's why we don't let children drive cars. The same reason we don't let them watch porn.
Yeah.
Because their brains can't handle it. It's too much.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on. 11 to 14.
So I didn't really have any friends. My best friend moved away. I was kind of just floating around people at school, and it just wasn't great. I was never with people that made me feel good. And then when I was about 12, I just slowly started to crumble because obviously I was still dealing with this porn addiction at the time. And obviously just growing up in that and just having that was, enough to make you go a bit crazy. I had a little bit of guilt and shame and a bit of loneliness and self-doubt, as you would. And during this time, I was getting bullied again and by kids and some of my teachers, because I was always probably not the smartest kid. And so my grades were always the lowest in the class, and the teachers would always bring them up and be like, oh, here's Neve with her lowest, mark. And I'm like, oh, great,
oh, no.
Thank you. Yeah. There was a few times. It was, in front of the whole class as well.
Oh.
But, and I took a lot to heart because obviously it was pretty horrible. And I would just go home to Mum and I'd just be crying. I'd just be like, I don't know why I didn't want to tell her. But, the bullying and the addiction. And then that kind of lasted for around 3 years until I was about 13. And by this point, I'd stopped watching it, but, I was still thinking about it and idolizing it a lot because it had consumed me. And by the age of 14, I was slowly starting to break away from that addiction. I hadn't healed from it. I was pretty hurt, and I had good weeks and bad weeks. It would really haunt me. And even when I would close my eyes, I couldn't escape it. It was just there.
When was it? Is there anything that that you can think of now to combat that for somebody that's listening that might be really young and they're like, that's me. I struggle with this all the time.
Because I don't really know how I got out of it, to be honest. Just by talking to God.
Because you have been, every now and again, I see you at the front at church and your heart's just totally open to God. And is that, would you say, one of the best?
Yeah, you've just got to completely surrender it over and just be create me again and make me new. But, it's pretty hard if you're young and that's what you're going through because you don't know. You don't really have a relationship with God. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what ended up happening next?
Well, I obviously was 14 and I'd started high school. And I'd started breaking off from some of my old friends that I was getting bullied from, and I was really lonely and I didn't want to talk to anyone.
Did you have anybody in your life that was somebody you could go to?
Not really. No.
Nobody in church or nobody?
Nah, because I was kind of only one my age growing up in church. Otherwise it was just a whole lot of really older people, like your age.
Yeah.
Not that you're that old, but
my 20s.
Yeah, in your 20s, just. And then really younger people. So I was kind of the only one.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of mixing, going around different churches, the Sallies and C3. And so it was all we didn't really have a set place, so I didn't really get to know anyone. And I didn't want anyone to know.
Why were you guys jumping around? I don't really know.
I used to think that we left C3 because we started off going to C3. I always thought we left because the music was too loud. Because I always thought the music was too loud. So I thought that's why we stopped. And then we went to the Sallies, and I don't know why we stopped going to the Sallies.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to feed into, and then we went to City Impact, and it was way too loud at City Impact. That drummer does not shut up.
No.
For our listeners, I'm the drummer.
Yeah. No, I don't think that was it. But I always thought that was because...
Yeah.
And then to the Sallies, and don't really know why we stopped going there. And then C3, it was pretty good. I don't actually know why we stopped going there. It's because my parents stopped, so obviously I stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, because, still pretty young and going wherever the parents went, eh?
Yeah. I obviously, during this time, was going to camps and things, like youth camps. And I actually would get my neighbour, who didn't grow up Christian at all, she would come to the youth camp. And I was learning guitar at the time as well, and I remember I would learn worship songs on the guitar. So I was very, like, out there. I knew who I was, like, growing up. Definitely knew that I was...
You're a daughter of God.
Yeah, daughter of God.
Yeah.
And he always had me. He always had hold of me. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool noticing that while I was writing out my testimony. I was like, oh, he was always there.
It's quite actually important, and I encourage any of our listeners to write out your story and see where you can find where God has been the entire time. That there's been either people or there's been places or instances, or you can kind of see God's fingerprint throughout your lives. I definitely can. There's been moments where I've gone, man, I should be dead, or that person came out of nowhere. It was just, very, very, it's quite powerful actually to try and go back through your life. You're good?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where I was up to in my notes. I've got 12 pages here. I wasn't joking about that. It's actually 12. But yeah, now after that I'm 15 to 17 years old. I've kind of got a few groups here, by the way. These are kind of my biggest years. I had quite a bit that went on. So in 2020, I was in year 10, and I obviously dealt with a lot of strong feelings at this time. I didn't know that it was the beginning of what was to become a depression. And I had ways that I was trying to fix these feelings at the time. I had changed my diet. I had started going outside more, doing more hobbies, journaling, not being on devices too much. And I even was trying natural remedies of how to lift my mood again. So I was taking like St. John wort and some other things like, stress away or whatever. And they were all good, but obviously, these didn't solve my problems. And I didn't benefit from any of them. Well, I did, things in there, like you should be going outside more. That's a good thing. But my sister actually at the time was living with us, and she helped to re-enroll me to go talk to someone. And this was through an organisation, I think Thrive, the name. So I went there, and I wasn't really leaving the house other than school, and I still wasn't making friends. So it was kind of like I was slowly going into that little slump of being in a little bit of a hole. And then during this time, I went to a youth camp with City Impact at the time. So we had obviously just started coming back. And this was truly the biggest moment when I look back, because it was the first time I actually gave my heart to the Lord. And I remember Pastor Corey was actually preaching about making your heart a home for Jesus. And Pastor Joe was also preaching about how we let go of baggage and we're set free from what we carry around. And I was just like, wow, I can't remember how old I was, probably 14. I was just like, man, I've got all this baggage that no one knew about. I was like, man, I just need to let it go and just make Jesus my life. So I pretty much did that. And then we obviously went into lockdown, and my house was very busy because my siblings had all come back. So there was
That's right.
Yeah, so there was my brother and his wife, and she was pregnant at the time, and they had 2 kids. And then my sister and her husband and their 3 kids, and she was also pregnant. And then my mum, dad, and me. And then we also had 2 dogs, a cat, and a bird in our house. This was all in lockdown, all in one place, and I really struggled.
It's full on.
I struggled. There was a lot going on.
It's none of your own space at that point.
And it was never a quiet moment, so there was always someone in your face. And I was a bit angry at times. Yeah.
Just not having any privacy properly.
No.
I mean, you've got like 15 kids running around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time hiding away, especially because I wasn't doing too great anyway. And during this time, I was accepted from when my sister enrolled me to go talk to someone. But it was a guy, and it was over like a Zoom call, and I was like, I don't really... So I turned it down. And then we came out of lockdown, and we really started going back to church, I was back at school, and over this time I had obviously switched from being with different friends to having better friends. And then obviously still wasn't doing great. So this time Mum re-enrolled me to go talk to someone. And as I waited to be accepted into this course to get re-enrolled, I was seeing another family friend who had helped me through a positive lifestyle program. And it took about 8 weeks, and it just worked through like anxiety and a bit of depression, and I can't remember the names of each of the booklets, but it was in a booklet, and we worked through it each week, and then I would come back and we'd kind of talk about it. But during this time, you know, sorry, I'm a bit sick.
That's all right. I'll just edit them out.
Yeah, but during this time, I had gone in with the intention that I was going to open up about having this addiction when I was younger, because obviously it had really affected me, and I didn't, and my answers weren't very real, and I had lied to the lady who I was seeing, but not just that, but I'd lied to myself. And then after this, the organisation that I had been enrolled with, I had actually gotten into, and I had started going to see her as well, and that had probably been about 8 sessions as well. And I would do this during school, so I would leave school and then come back. And I had also gone in with the intention that I was going to open up about everything, and I didn't. And I again was lying to myself and wasn't being very true. And then she actually diagnosed me with depression at age 15. And, you know, I managed to kind of just keep smiling through it all, and I masked my pain a lot. And I remember I'd be sitting there with this lady and I'd just smile through it. I'd like be smiling and I just had tears rolling down my eyes. And yeah, it wasn't great. I kind of just went through it though, pushed through. And then at the end of 2020, I had gone to the Branches School Camp, which is this massive school camp that they do. It's about 12 days, which I think has changed now because there are too many kids going. But during this time, I'd got really close with a friend, and we'd gone in, and you know, some things had gone a little bit wrong, and we were both saying things that weren't very nice about each other, and we actually fell out of a friendship that we had for probably a year before that. And because of this, I was very much in a very dark place, and I was obviously a lot worse coming out of that, on top of already having a lot of depression and stuff. And all these things that I had worked up during going to these ladies to talk to them had gone out the window, you know, about gratitude and like just ways of helping me work through and having strategies. Yeah, it stopped working, to be honest, because I wasn't really using them. And this girl and I, we actually didn't end up talking to each other for maybe a good 6 months plus. Like, I'd want to reach out and be like, hey, how are you? You know, oh, I want to tell you about this, but no, I didn't. I just went like cold turkey. We didn't talk to each other. And obviously in an age where everything is online, we kind of just like blocked each other on everything. And before I had gone on the camp, there was a lot of tension at home, and, you know, just with my parents and stuff, because they were starting to find it really hard with me, and because I was in such a dark place all the time. You know, it was starting to weigh down on them because you don't want to see your kid going through pain. And so it took me a while to kind of open up to them about what had gone on the camp. And, you know, after that moment when I told them, I really started to push them away. I didn't want to talk to them. I don't want to tell them about anything because I felt like a burden, and I was like, oh, I don't want to be a burden. And so, you know, it was really hard for them and it was hard for me, and we kind of didn't really have a great relationship because just it was a lot of pushing and pulling, and that just wasn't great. And then I remember that Christmas I had started feelings of depersonalization and derealization, which I've got a little description of what that is, for anyone who doesn't know. Depersonalization is where you have the feeling of being outside yourself or observing your actions, feelings, or thoughts from a distance. Derealization is when you feel the world is unreal. People and things around you may seem lifeless or blurry. I didn't realize at the time. It was only until I was writing this out and I was like, oh, that's right. Like, I was so lost in myself and who I was in the image of God that I had started to really just push away, and I felt like I was going insane because I didn't know what it was at the time. And I remember just looking around at my family that Christmas, and I didn't know anyone. I was looking at them and I was like, man, I don't know these people. I don't know who I can trust, because obviously I had this falling out with this friend and a lot of trust was broken there. And I was very far removed from myself and those around me. And I kind of struggled with that until 2021, which we will go into now. So in 2021, I was very lost that whole year. I obviously had blocked everything. I had put a mask on. I wasn't really talking to anyone. Didn't want to talk to anyone. But also during this time, I had remembered that time when I was at youth camp that I'd gone to. And so I slowly started listening to more worship music at the time, where I was like, if there was something that was going to help me, it was going to be Jesus. And so I kind of had that change where I was like, oh, I'm going to stop listening to this music. So worship music really got me through a lot. And during this time, I had really started telling my friends and my teachers about Jesus and church, and it made me so happy. And my friends would reach out and they'd be like, oh, what does this mean? Like, who was this in the Bible? And I would tell them, and I'd get like so happy and get so pumped. It was actually really great. I had some great conversations. And my teachers as well, like, you wouldn't know how many of them were actually Christian until you got talking to them, and they obviously grew up in church. Or there were some, I remember I talked to this one guy, and he was a teacher aide. And funny enough, we were talking about podcasts, and I was telling him I used to listen to the Jesus Magnet, or I was listening to the Jesus Magnet, because I still do. And because I just said I was, but I still am. And we got talking about, how he had kind of turned away from God. And he's like, you don't have to tell me that you listen to like a Christian podcast or anything. And I was like, no, I'll tell him, because anyway, I had good conversations with people through school. And then I had started taking antidepressants at this time, and it kept me pretty steady for a while. It definitely helped, but it wasn't, it wasn't going to fix everything, which I thought would. And I felt really numb, and I was having really high highs and some really low lows. And, in my highs, I was doing some great things, telling people about Jesus. I had a good routine. I would wake up, go to the gym. I would actually do that with Joel's wife, Laura. We'd go to the gym. And Joel's mum, we would both go to the gym as well. And, I was doing great. I got excellences in all my schoolwork. I actually ended 2021, which was my year 11. I got that with excellence endorsed, which was pretty good. I always thought I was a bit of a try-hard, though. But, hard work pays off. But in my lows, I was very angry, and I was crying quite a lot of the time. And I was really sensitive, and I took a lot to heart. I remember people would say, oh, Jesus, oh my God. And, I would just be like, don't say that. And I would, take it to heart so much. Not saying that we shouldn't, but from that, it was when people would go oh, Jesus, I'd be like, oh, that's right. I love Jesus. And I actually would switch it. So it was a good habit that I learned through that.
That's nice. I remember feeling something similar going through high school, and it's kind of like salt going onto a wound. It's oh, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't even if you didn't really believe in it, just what if it is true?
Yeah. Then
blaspheming the name of God. Yeah, it didn't feel right. But these people just really didn't know any difference, eh? That's what they were brought up with.
Yeah. But then I like how Jesus was like, oh, just flip it. Just be use it as a reminder to know how good he is. And and then I was also in these lows, I was having thoughts about life would be without me in it. And I was having thoughts that weren't my own, obviously, because I always knew that these thoughts were from the devil, and I always knew that they weren't of me. But I was like, oh, maybe if I just wasn't here, then it would be better. But no, it's not. And at this point, I really felt like I was going.
So this was just after COVID?
Yeah, 2021.
Wow.
So not long ago.
Not long at all.
Not long ago.
Man.
Only 3 years.
Yeah. Jeez.
And I actually felt like I was going insane. Obviously, depersonalization and the derealization, and obviously these thoughts. I was going to the point where I felt like I should have almost been put in a psych ward, which wasn't great. I obviously had times where I thought that was the answer. And I was also trying to hurt myself at the time as well. Nothing too drastic, but the thought was still there, and it kind of sucked. But during this time, I had God tell me, you should really open up to Mum about everything that was going on when you were younger. And I remember I was actually reading a book by Stan Walker, and it was about his testimony, and he obviously had some things happen to him when he was younger, and I was like, I should really open up to Mum about this, because if I was reading a book about someone else going through this, I can obviously get freedom through Jesus about telling everyone my story, because, and he was like, God had put it on my heart, and he's like, just go tell her. And I remember that evening I was fighting with it in my room. I was like, no, I'm not going to tell her. And I'm like pacing up and down. But anyway, I'm just like, go out of my room. I'm like, Mum, I need to tell you something. So I take her back to my room, and I just opened up to her about everything. And she was so understanding, and I think she kind of always knew. Well, she didn't know, but she
had a gut feeling there was something beneath the surface causing all this.
Yeah. And she always kind of knew that I was a bit of a sneaky child, and I would always get around things. I'd get caught sometimes. But I was pretty good at hiding things. And I've actually got a scripture here, and it's James 5:16, and it says, confess and acknowledge that you have offended one another, and then pray for them, let me just read that again. Confess and acknowledge you have offended one another, and then pray for one another, and you will instantly be healed. For tremendous power is released through the passionate, heartfelt prayer of a godly believer. And I kind of felt like, when I told Mum and it lifted off me, that was kind of what it was like, It's not... Scrap that.
There's a lot of power in sharing your trials. And the Bible, this is actually one thing I got to take my hat off to the Catholics, is they really promote to confess. But it's a bit tricky when it's not really a sin.
Yeah, because I was talking to Mum about it the other day, and I was like, it's not the fact that I was confessing it, because I feel like I should only confess things to God and not someone else. But I was like, how else could I word it? And that was kind of the scripture that came to me.
But there's definitely a lot of power in it. Yeah. It's I'm not alone in this journey.
Yeah.
And the Bible is really clear on, saying where two or more are gathered, Jesus is there, like in prayer. So there's real power in praying. So when you're going through, even if you're a victim of something, or you have sinned or whatever it is, that confession actually almost brings in the army of God to combat. And when I say the satanic powers that come over you to say, take your life, they come. So you need something to combat that. Yeah. And that, it's a weird thing, like that confession almost acknowledging, God, I need help. Yeah. And it's stripping away pride. Yeah. I can't do this without you. Yeah. And then it's bringing in, if you can't do it without God, then also why not bring in other people that are godly? Yeah. And changes everything.
It does. It did. It changed everything, because I had so much forgiveness towards that girl when I was, just over the age of 5. And I was like, man, she was only just a child too. Yeah. And I just, it was such a powerful moment. And ever since then, it's so easy to forgive people. Like, why would you hold someone accountable for something when you can just it's so easy to forgive?
It's because it's a holding a justice against them like they deserve it. Yeah. But what does God say? Justice, vengeance is mine. Yeah. And he's the judge. He's the one that is the just being. We're not. Yeah. So we don't even have the right to hold it.
Yeah. No. And then, it says here, what I've got written down, I was, I had to learn how to forgive and how to forgive others and myself, because obviously the situation that happened wasn't my fault, and I always grew up thinking it was my fault. Obviously wasn't. And obviously I hated myself a wee bit, and I thought I felt disgusting. But after I told Mum, I no longer had to go in the shower and scrub at my skin to make me feel clean. And I no longer had this sick, nauseous feeling that I've been dealing with. And it was just complete. It's the power of God just hit me in that minute. It was so good. But around this time, I also had my first panic attack. And funny enough, while I was having this panic attack, all I wanted to do was to come to church. And I don't know why, but I always had this like picture of coming to, I don't know, I just wanted to come to church. And it was like 1 in the morning, so there was no way that anyone was going to be at church if I did come.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after that first attack, they just kind of kept coming. And I would find myself just stuck in these attacks, and there wasn't any way that I could kind of get out of them. But I do remember the first time I had one, I remember I was in my mum's arms because obviously I was hysterical. And I remember just listening to her heartbeat, and that really helped bring me out of it. And sometimes now when I get a little bit worked up and I feel like one could be coming on, I think of the heartbeat, and I don't know if that's... Actually, no, I do know, because funny enough, I was in church this last Sunday, and I had this vision of a heart. Maybe that's what it was for.
Yeah.
Just came to me then. It was actually for someone else, though, as well.
That's cool.
Yeah. And actually through this moment, I've been getting a few visions of what God has in store for them, just praying over them. And during this time, I also had the opportunity to help out at kids' church, but my heart wasn't really in it. And there was only a few of us at church at the time who was my age, and we didn't really have a youth at the time. And so we kind of would go help out at kids' church, kind of get out of the service, because we thought we were too cool to be there. And because I was in a dark place, I didn't really want to help out at church, and kind of just didn't want to do anything.
In an awkward place when there's hardly any youth in a church.
Yeah.
And then the young ones, they're also too young for you as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it can be really tricky, and because I'll be honest, like when you're a certain age, if you're in that service, it was a long service, and
It was a long service.
a lot of the time they're really boring.
Yeah, and at the time I didn't really have a passion for being there either, so I would just sneak out and play with my nieces and nephews in kids' church.
Yeah.
And kind of just avoid it all.
I think the most important thing is being in the building somewhere.
Yeah.
But find the place that's for you at that time. I acknowledge a 2-year-old's not going to be able to sit through a 45-minute sermon and stay attentive.
No.
And neither is a 15, 16-year-old, 17, whatever.
Yeah.
It can be, but for the youth services, they're totally different.
Yeah.
They've got a different atmosphere. The messages are very much catered towards, that encounter with God, and knowing that that's where you run to. You got to learn that at an early age. That's where you run to. What do they say? There's two sort of ways to look at the Father, and there's I'm in trouble, I need to run from my Father, and there's I'm in trouble, I need to run to Him.
Yeah.
And it's to learn and distinguish, to run to Him when you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's a vital thing to learn at that age. But that's not often taught during the Sunday mornings. That's more of a youth service thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely kind of what we teach more now, because now we've got a much bigger, broader youth, and there's so many kids here at church. And I'm quite fortunate to be involved in the youth now, where it is, there's that need there and the desire there to get to know God, and actually, having the people in the community to have that relationship is really good. But unfortunately, I didn't really have that then.
Just a quick pause in our episode to express the gratitude for tuning in. We're truly blessed to have you with us today. Always remember, God's on your side, and He will never, ever abandon you. But before we dive back into the heart of the Jesus Magnet, we want to take a moment to acknowledge our incredible support of our partners. Without them, this podcast absolutely wouldn't be possible. And hey, did you know that our partners not only help keep the lights on, but they get some amazing perks? That's right, by becoming a coffee member for just $5 a month, you're not only fueling our mission and partnering with the Jesus Magnet, but you are unlocking access to all of our early content. Imagine being the first to hear the incredible stories from around the world of the Jesus Magnet. So if you want to be part of the inner circle and get your spiritual fix before everyone else, just join us as a coffee member today. We would love you to join our community, because let's be real, what's better than prayer and coffee and a VIP access to the incredible stories around the world that the Jesus Magnet bring. Now let's get back to the show. Before we move on to this next bit, I would like to just ask if you could expand and tell me a little bit about that moment when you gave your heart to the Lord at the camp.
Yeah.
What was that like? What happened? Walk me through it.
Again, it was just like this weight that had lifted off, and I was like, man, God, just make a home in my heart. And
at the altar?
At the altar, yeah. I kind of didn't, you know how they do the altar call and you kind of go stand up the front? I didn't really go stand up the front. I kind of just snuck in the back, but I was still in the front because I just didn't really want to go up. But I was like, nah, this is the moment where I'm like, I'm going to surrender to God. I'm like, I always knew that you could grow up Christian, but it wasn't until you actually gave your heart to the Lord that you became a Christian.
Yeah. It's got to be your faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my big, like, wow, you know, he's here, he's real.
And you were able to just carry that, even though it's not that life becomes rosy and easy after that. If anything, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And did it give you a place? I know that a few years later, you were getting a little bit suicidal.
Yeah.
Did you feel like a remembrance of that moment at times?
Not really, not until recently.
Yeah. Did you find that during those suicidal moments you were able to seek Jesus or pray or anything like that? Did any of that happen?
Yeah, I did. I always knew I could call on him, and I always knew that no matter what I was going through, I was always loved and protected. And, you know, I would always pray with my mum and my dad growing up. And through this time, I might have been a bit more distant, but, you know, they were always praying for me as well. And I think that really got me through. And it wasn't until now, and they were like, oh, yeah, we were really praying for you because we were really worried. And I was like, oh, I wasn't really, but I still knew I was loved and cared for, and I was obviously created with a reason, and I was obviously put on this earth with the intention to be used for his glory, and at the time I did not know that, but here I am today, sharing my testimony, which is, you know, something that's been big for me, and I've eventually got here.
Yeah. Can I ask what your view is on the antidepressants? And this is for people that are listening and they're going, you know, is that something that I should go on? I don't know if I just need to lean in with prayer and worship more, and will that fix it? Or is antidepressants a way to go? What's your opinion on that?
Well, see, because I was kind of doing a bit of both, you know. I was worshipping more and I was praying more during this time, and the antidepressants was just something to kind of just carry me through a little bit more. And it worked for a while, you know, it kept me quite steady. But it's definitely a hard thing because I really struggled with the idea of taking something else to kind of fix these problems.
What do you mean taking something else?
Like taking the antidepressants.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Because I'd always tried, like, going back to the other things, like, you know, the journaling and the other...
Just different coping mechanisms.
Other coping mechanisms, yeah. Because I was also taking the St. John wort, which it's derived from a flower, but it's just supposed to help lift the mood and stuff, and that wasn't working. And so I was like, oh, maybe, you know, I'll give it a go. And I knew that it wasn't really going to be the best thing to start taking antidepressants, but it got me through a wee bit. But I did eventually come off it because it didn't help. Yeah. Because Jesus is the only one that can help.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. People have different viewpoints for sure.
Yeah.
On it. Yeah. So let's walk into 2022.
Yeah. Well, also before 2022, I had just got a job at a local cafe, and I loved it. I was telling everyone that I went to church, even though I would spend my time at kids' church most of the time. And I was just telling them about Jesus, and they would ask questions, and they'd be like, oh, you know, what type of church is it? And we'll just get into these conversations. Some are really open, some just completely ignored. But, you know, that's just what you get, isn't it?
You sound kind of like a natural evangelist as well, and it's interesting because we did that Bible study. We do a Bible study every Tuesday, and remember we got to that one point in Romans where it's the most confusing verse ever. I do these things that I don't want to do, and the things I don't want to do, I do. And Paul says,
I do remember that one.
Yeah, I don't think he could have written it any more confusing. Now, he obviously struggled, with different things. But one thing he knew was God was real. Amongst his struggles, he knew that God was real. And he did everything he could, any chance that there was a chance, he shared the gospel. And it's cool that you're like a natural evangelist, even when you haven't got it all together. It's like, well, I know that this thing's true in my life. This thing is never moving.
Yeah, amidst all the chaos.
Even though I'm barely holding it together.
Even though I feel like I'm going insane, I've still got Jesus.
What do they say? I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that sounds like the place that you were at. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm kind of freaking out, but I know somebody who does know what's happening, and he's got my back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So cool. So tell me about this cafe. You're talking to these people?
Yeah. And it was a great time. I really loved it there. It was like my first proper job. But obviously there was the guideline that had come in where you needed to be vaccinated in order to work in that type of industry. And my sister had been vaccinated and had a bad reaction. So I was a bit hesitant to get it, but my boss was like, nah, like, you like working here, so go get it. So I went and got my first one, and I didn't feel great. Some would like to say that it wasn't the vaccine, but I definitely know it was.
So when you say you didn't feel great after the vaccine, what changed?
Well, after the first one, because I got both, I had got this like really weird cough, and my chest was really sore, my arm would go really sore, and I just thought, our bathroom in our house was getting redone soon, and I was like, might just be a bit mold in the walls, it's just that. But no, I went and got my second one, and this time it hit me worse because I had a lot of damage that was done. I had nerve damage, I had really bad heart palpitations, I was having aches all over. I kind of get into that a bit more. But
this happened pretty immediately after the jab, or was it?
Yeah, within like a month.
Within a month?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So, bit of a rough journey, but
you're like 17, 18.
I was 16.
16?
16 at the time. Oh, no, maybe. Yeah. No, I would have still been 16.
Vax injured.
Yeah.
You'll probably get into more of it later on, right?
Yep.
I'll hold off.
Okay.
Some of the questions.
Yep. But I went and got my second one because obviously you needed 2 to keep working. And as soon as I told my work, they're like, oh, we don't really need you anymore.
What? Yeah. So they forced you to go get the vaccination so that you could work more and then let you go after. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty fun.
That's horrible.
The thing was, I also got too sick that I wouldn't have been able to work anyway.
Yeah, because of them.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh. This sort of thing makes me feel sick, eh? Like, I don't care if people get the vaccine, but they cannot be manipulated into getting it.
Yeah.
And
that's one thing that hurt me at the time was my boss had definitely really manipulated me into it, and I didn't notice it at the time. It wasn't great.
Man.
And as a then 16-year-old, I didn't really know what I was doing. Like, obviously, I had family.
Yeah, you're the same. It's the same thing. Your brain hasn't even developed properly.
Yeah. And I had one side of my family who were really for the vaccine, and then one side who were not. And it was constantly like, oh, you're going to need it for school next year. These were the people that were for it. They're like, going to need it for school, you're going to need it for work. And then other people were like, don't get it no matter what. And I'm kind of like on this fence where I was like, do I, don't I? I'm like, I love this job.
Yeah.
And I needed it for school anyway. But then I really didn't want it because...
You needed the vaccine to go to school? To go to school?
To go to school because I did...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did a course through the Polytech, beauty therapy, and I actually needed it for
school.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Not high school, though.
Well, it was through the high school.
Oh, true. But could you still go to normal high school?
Yeah, you could. you're still kind of needed.
But you're seriously manipulated by everybody there.
Yeah.
Yes. You're a leper if you haven't got it. Oh my gosh. And here we are, and everybody's forgotten about it.
I know.
It's just...
It means nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, you're vax injured. How bad over the next couple of months?
Yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah?
Not great.
What? Tell me.
Well, I was in a lot of physical pain, pretty much like 24/7. I, was spending days in bed. I couldn't really.
So
get to
achy?
school. Yeah, achy, and obviously
Heart palpitations.
Because of the nerve damage, some places were really like hypersensitive, and then some places like I could pinch my arm and I could feel it, but it didn't have that same kind of like shock.
Oh.
But I can pinch my arm now and I'm perfectly fine.
Right.
Because
okay.
I'm completely healed from it. But yeah, it wasn't great.
So at points like that where you're under prayer, wanting to be totally healed.
Yeah.
How did that sounds like pretty horrible to essentially be bedridden at 16.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, God, heal me from this. Did you get to a point where you're like, Lord, just help me?
I actually got pretty bitter, and because my sister was going through the same thing and she had a family and stuff, I was like, why are you doing this? Especially to both of us. I was like, give it to me because I can handle it better. That's what I thought. Because obviously I didn't have 4 kids.
Right.
I was like, I could handle it more, but I was really angry and
that's a justified anger, for sure.
Because I was like, this is all God's fault. Well, because I thought it was his fault.
Yeah.
And
well, you got to blame somebody, well, that you feel like you do.
Yeah.
At the time. And yeah.
But actually,
it was Cindy's fault.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But
anyway,
I'll also go into a bit about school at the time. Is I've always been very creative, and I've always used the Bible in my art. Like I did one year, it was like, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. And then the year before, 2022, I did, for she is far more precious than jewels, and her value was above rubies and pearls. And I would always incorporate it into my art. And in 2022, I decided that I would go with Psalms 121. I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And
that's so built for where you live in Queenstown.
Yeah.
Looking to the mountains. We're surrounded by mountains here.
Yeah, and funny enough, I've got it written down here that when I picked this verse, it was actually the same day that I went into the emergency because I was having really bad chest pains. I was like, oh, that's funny, because I only just saw that the other day, and I was looking through my photos, and I was like, oh, I had the screenshot of that verse, and then swiped across, and it was a photo of me in the hospital with a mask on. I was like, big smile.
Oh my gosh.
In the pain. In the hospital, yeah, in a lot of pain, but it was,
and you're crying out to God.
Yeah, and that was
as
my verse.
angry as you were.
As angry as I was, but yeah. And my art teacher, funny enough, at the time, she said, "Don't use that verse. It's going to be really hard." And obviously, she wasn't a Christian, and she didn't really want me to use it anyway. But I was like, "Yeah, I know it'll be hard. I'm still going to use it." And so I used it for my painting and my design classes. But we'll kind of get back to that verse again later.
Yeah.
But over those next few months, I was in a lot of pain. I was actually taking codeine at the time for some of this pain, and I was on at least 20 pills a day.
20 pills?
20 pills.
Wow, of what, 10 milligrams or whatever they are?
Of just 10 pills altogether of vitamins, prescription, melatonin. Yeah, there are some things in there that obviously didn't help, and they were pretty horrible. And then painkillers. I wasn't just on codeine for my pain. I was on 6 painkillers a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so I wasn't doing great. But I wasn't able to work. I wasn't able to go to school. I couldn't actually get out of bed most days, I said earlier.
So this has been, we're at least, 6 months in?
Not even.
Not even 6 months in from getting the jab?
Yeah, that was probably 2 months.
Far out.
And because I wasn't going to school as much, because I was only going 2 out of 3 days, if that. And at the time, one of those days was going to the Polytech to do my course. So it was probably only like one day, like proper day at school. And so because I wasn't going, I was starting to really lose my friendship with my friends, and especially my friends where we would talk about Jesus, and we'd sit in art and we'd be doing a painting, and they'd ask me questions while I was, painting about all these scriptures and things, and that kind of just stopped. And it was something that made me so happy, and I really relied on that. But, it was something that obviously was taken away from me because I couldn't go to school. I couldn't do this and that and the next thing.
So you had obviously, at this point, you're a young lady, and man, you've gone through a lot in your 16 years at this point.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
More than most people would go through in a lot of their lives. And you're painting about these scriptures, and every time you're having an anxiety attack, you're wanting to be in the house of the Lord.
Yeah.
And you're praying with your parents, and you've clearly got a very deep relationship with God.
And I was constantly listening to worship music and telling my friends about it, like Jesus and church. And
the crazy thing about this is it seems like your deepness with God has been brought into your life through your trials.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds.
Yeah.
Like, as a painful way to do it, but it's like, it's not that God causes these things, but he allows things.
I've actually got a thing here, and it's kind of, God gives us what we can handle. And throughout this year, 2021, I was really just thinking that, because I was like, he gives us what we can handle, because when we know that, we also know that we can handle a lot.
Yeah.
And we can go through a lot, because, when our rock is Jesus, we can, I can't remember. I've got the vision there. I can see it, but that's the thing with having a creative mind. I quite often have it like all in my head, and then when I go to say it, it never comes out. But when you're built on him and he is your rock, then
it doesn't shift. Yeah, even when the wind and the waves come, you're standing on something firm.
Yeah.
This interesting image comes to my mind, and it was something that I read about 2 days ago. I don't know why it's coming to my mind now, but there was a ship that was about to sink in the ocean, and this captain didn't know what to do, and there was another boat far off away, and he signaled with his flag, "Hey, I can't get to shore. These waves are going to tip the boat over. Please come send a life raft." And then the opposing ship lifts up the flag and responds with, "It's too windy for me to send a life raft. I'm sorry," pretty much. Good luck. And then the captain, what he did is he had all this oil on his boat, and he tips it all over onto the ocean, or the oil. And what oil does on water is it sits on top of the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's very slippery. And what ended up happening, this is a true story, is the whole around the boat, about 150 meters circumference around the boat, was covered in oil on the water.
Yeah.
Totally smooth. All the waves stopped around the boat because the oil, the wind can't catch the friction of the water to create the waves. And it actually calmed the storm. There was a calm bit of the middle of the ocean in the middle of a storm.
Yeah. That's so cool.
And I feel when you were talking about Jesus, what happens in the middle of chaos or in the middle of a storm, it's that.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of a storm, and you're looking around. There's just chaos everywhere. I'm vax injured. I'm depressed. I'm
suicidal.
Suicidal. Yeah. My friends aren't my friends anymore.
Yeah.
I don't feel I can be open, and you can see all these arrows from the enemy coming towards you, but this calmness actually around you, that is Jesus, and you're going, actually, I'm safe right here.
Yeah.
And I can see the craziness, but I'm actually safe.
Yeah.
That's what I see when I hear all that.
I actually remember during this time, I'd gone up to the front of church, and Corey actually had kind of like a vision for me, and it was David and Goliath, and I was just like battling all these giants and all these big massive like problems. I was like, oh, that's quite cool, and I see how that's pretty relevant to where I was.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, what happened next?
Yeah. Well, let me see in my notes. Yeah, so I just go into how my sister was in a very similar situation. She had it worse, and I felt really guilty, and I was bitter with God, and I had stopped going to church at this time. And whenever I did go, I was a mess. I was like bawling my eyes out. I just felt so lost, but I also felt really convicted at the time because I thought it was all my fault that I went and got vaccinated, and I just was like...
It's not your fault.
No, and I was just like going through the motions. I was not happy. I was not having it. And so I really stopped going. My family would still go. It was just me kind of stopped going. And as a result of this, I was really distant with my relationship with Jesus. I knew he was always there, but I didn't rely on him, and I just like completely ignored him. I had kind of, during this time, I stopped listening to worship music. I had stopped going to church, and that was pretty much what I was doing already because I wasn't really involved in the church then.
Do you think it was that pain that you were in constantly that was a reminder of like, well, God, you haven't healed me, so you don't love me, therefore I'm out.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. And when I did come, I was just like sitting there the whole time because I don't really want to stand during worship, which I'm like, if we're in worship, everyone stands. Yeah. And if there's anyone sitting down, I'm like, I'm looking at that person, I'm like, you're a weirdo. And so I was
so
like,
rude.
I know. And so I was like, I'm never going to sit down and worship. Yeah. And I would sit down and worship. And then obviously I was just like, I don't do this. This isn't what I do. So obviously that was something as well. And so I was just like, nah, it's just better if I don't go. And then through this time, I was having lots of appointments, going to specialists, doctors. I was constantly getting blood tests and getting lines put in. And so they were pretty horrible. Sometimes they would miss and have to put it in a few times. And I'm not great with needles.
No, me too.
And I got pretty used to them. I actually didn't mind the feeling of being jabbed with a needle because I couldn't really feel the pain because I don't really have any sensation in my arm. But I was getting ECGs, MRIs. I was on lots of pills. I actually don't know how many I was on altogether, but... You know, there are ones that I tried that didn't work. I remember I took this one pill, and it was some blue one, and it knocked me out for days. And it made me feel I was, like, crazy, like going insane. Mum's like, I could see it in your eyes. Wow. And so some of these pills were just like, I shouldn't have been on them. And because I was taking so many different things, it obviously was mixing together. Just wasn't great. And... You know, I'd be going to these doctors and specialists and they would, you know, say some things that would disgrace you a bit. And...
What were they saying?
Oh, just like kind of in your head.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And it just wasn't really real.
That's terrible.
Yeah, so it wasn't great. And obviously there were other things like...
Do you think that was because admitting that it was potentially a vax injury is quite detrimental to the whole medical field at that point? Because they had to all be on board, so they weren't able to admit that. But they had nothing else to go off.
They had nothing else to go off. No,
that's terrible.
And because when I would go get tests, nothing would really show up. Like with ECGs, like obviously my heart palpitations would happen at any time. And ECGs take like 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, I wasn't going to have a heart palpitation to prove that it was anything. And so, yeah, nothing was really coming up. And I was getting all these blood tests, and I was getting tests for like arthritis because I was having joint pains and all this stuff. But nothing was coming up, so they couldn't actually like go off anything.
Wow.
But, I mean, I was in a lot of pain. That first time I went to the emergency, because I went twice, they couldn't get anything either, but I was there like hunched over and my chest was so sore and nothing came up.
But your sister was also injured.
Yep.
So clearly there's some sort of like hereditary aspect to this.
That's kind of how we summed it up, was because if she was injured by the vaccine, if I got it and I was also not feeling great, we just assumed.
You both were totally
We were write-offs.
Your write-offs
Yeah.
a month after you got
Yeah.
the vax.
Yeah.
And that is a hell of a coincidence.
It is. Yep. And luckily, my older brother, he didn't get vaccinated, so
I just want to do a quick shout-out to Jesse, actually, if that's all right.
go for it.
Jesse, if you're listening, I know that you will be listening to this episode, but a huge shout-out to Jesse Short. He is one of the main builders that we would absolutely not be sitting here in the studio if it wasn't for Jesse. He's amazing. So thank you, Jesse. Just a quick little shout out for him.
Yeah, you big annoying bully.
He's so
great.
great.
I do love him. He's good. How long ago was that when this church was built?
About this time, I would say right when you're going in and out of hospital, we were probably building
this room.
Yeah, we were probably building this room. Yeah.
There you go.
Because we did this after COVID.
That's right.
Yeah.
I do remember that vaguely.
He was hilarious. He was like, totally out with the rules of not going anywhere. So he's like, Joel, do you have a key for the church? We'll just break in and just work on it during lockdown.
Yeah, we all kind of got a bit like that in the end. Because we did have that second lockdown, which I can't remember when that was. I think that was 2021.
That was when we did the studio.
Yeah.
On the second lockdown.
We were all kind of, because obviously my siblings had been building a house down in Gibbston.
Yeah.
We would go down there and we had to prune the grapes, so we were essential workers, but we would just be out there
building the house.
Like 3 different households all together. We weren't listening to any of the rules.
The reason Jesse and I didn't do it here was because we couldn't get the materials.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an essential worker, so I'm not allowed to go out and buy materials and stuff like that.
I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, but he's great. Anyway, so you and your sister,
yes,
who also, by the way, is amazing, Tessa, we shout out for you. You guys obviously confirmed between you guys, but was there any doctors that were able to back you in that claim?
Yeah, so we had I can't remember what they were called, NZD, SOS, New Zealand Doctors.
Okay.
SOS, I can't remember what it is. I'm guessing that's just SOS. But they really helped, and they got me on quite a few things that were to help take out the toxins and stuff, like natural remedies and things, but I don't know if they really worked. But, they were there and they listened and they helped. And I wrote up a whole thing to send to the government. It was a whole letter. I did that probably around this time last year.
Yeah. I messaged you that.
You messaged Tessa about that, and then Tessa's like, you need to write something up. And I'm like, I don't really want to, but I did anyway. And so they were really...
Good to get a record of it.
Yeah, but...
Because in 5 years' time, they'll be like, that was so long ago,
Yeah.
It's good to get that record now.
Yeah. But obviously, I had a lot of physical pain that now thinking back at it, I can't really remember how bad it was because I've spent so much time just blocking it out. But
you're definitely quite good at hiding it because
I'm very good. I learned because of what I went through when I was younger. I've been very good at learning how to hide things.
Because Mum mentioned that you were vax injured and said, she's in a lot of pain.
I was in a lot of pain.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I was praying for you.
Yeah.
And then when I saw you, you didn't look half bad.
Yeah, I'd have a big smile and I'd be happy. But I smile through everything.
But because my mum had given me the bit more, she is in pain.
Yeah.
I knew that was fake. Yeah. And that's, I suppose, was the indicator to, man, Neve really can hide things if she wants to.
Yep.
Which was a bit scary actually because, then you're going, man, I don't really know how you're doing.
Yeah, I wasn't doing great.
No.
But then during this time, I thought that everyone could see how bad I was. But obviously, I was still very good at hiding it. But, I was going to...
Because Mum talked to you a lot, eh?
Yeah.
She was quite close with you.
Yeah, no, she was really good. There were so many amazing people during that time that really reached out and was a big help because it was very hard. But also going back to the doctors and things, I hated going to the doctors because obviously already being in a really horrible place. I remember I'd go in crying and I would come out, and as soon as I got in the car, I'd just have a panic attack. And so I was having like panic attacks probably every day. And it just, your body was freaking out, you know, and I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And obviously with the mental side of everything too, and the physical pain and the depression and panic attacks.
How were
and
you
things.
spiritually during that time?
I was very empty. I wasn't doing great. I can't really remember it because I was so far from God that I blocked it all out.
And how long did that go for, and what was the turning point?
It was pretty much up until the very end of that year.
Wow. So at least 6-8 months.
Yeah. And in that 6-8 months, you know, some people be like, oh, that's not long to be far from God. But, you know, when you're going through that type of stuff.
And pain every day. Anxiety attacks every day, which are horrible.
They are horrible. Even writing this and even just writing out the word panic attacks, I was like, I was starting to well up in tears. And even now, like, it'll be nothing and I can easily flip and go into one. But
I suffer every once in a while with a panic attack. And my very first one that I had is crazy. I was in Invercargill and I didn't know what was going on. And I was just in my room. I was studying to be a primary school teacher.
Yeah.
And it's just like the whole world was twisting around me. And I didn't really know what was going on. But the craziest part was it went for, I don't know, it's hard to tell how long it went for. But at the end, the light bulb exploded in my room.
Yeah, wow.
And I realised there was more to this. And to this day, I think panic attacks are very demonic.
They are very demonic.
Yeah.
And I love how when I got my first, I don't love panic attacks, but I love how when I had my first one, all I wanted to do was to come to church. And I remember because it was at like 12 or 1 in the night, I went outside and I remember looking up at the stars and I remember God saying to me so clearly, he's like, you're created more precious than the stars in the sky. Wow. And I remember I think that was kind of the first time I heard from God. And I was like, oh, that's right.
That's cool.
That's cool.
In the middle of a panic attack.
In the middle of a panic attack. And I don't know how long it went for. But that was, that was the first one. Obviously more where it was a lot harder. I remember one and...
I literally, when I think of a panic attack, it's like you got one eye which sees the normal reality of the world, and then this other eye where you see the spiritual.
Yeah.
And there's this hurricane of spiritual warfare pushing you around and moving and just twisting everything. But then with the other eye you can see nothing's actually moving around you, but there actually is.
Yeah.
And there's so many life and death experiences that have come on the show. I'm going to say that when they die, these are people that have died and come back to life. When they die, they feel more alive than they've ever felt.
Yeah.
So and they said it's more real than this world. And that's a weird way to put it.
Yeah.
It's more real. How does something become more real? That everything is intensified.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Man, panic attacks are terribly demonic.
Yeah. I remember I had one and it was so bad that I don't know how long it went for, but it was a long time. And I got so sick that I actually made myself throw up, and I actually felt better after throwing up, which is not a great thing. That hurts.
Yeah.
And it was the fact that, I don't know, I was in this state where it was so demonic and dark that to make myself feel better, I had to make myself feel more pain. And that just, that's not great.
Do you have some strategies to implement now if one comes on? You said that you're listening to a heartbeat as one.
The heartbeat.
To imagine that.
Just imagining that. It's really hard because obviously I was in a much different space then to where I am now. But now I know that I can call on God and I can call on Jesus, and instantly he's just right there. Whereas in these moments when I was having them, I was far from God. I didn't really know. But yeah, having that heartbeat and imagining that, and that I was created
running
for a reason.
to God, not from him.
Yeah.
I've always put on a bit of worship. It's pretty much always oceans or reckless love.
Yep.
And like a focal point. And I like how you're listening to the heartbeat. That's your focus point.
Yep.
Worship music does the same, I think.
Yeah. Definitely does.
Yeah. I'm saying this also for a lot of the listeners might have these same experiences, but so good to equip yourself to know what to do when they do happen. And that, man, they really are just, I think, the enemy trying to get in, eh?
Yeah. And sometimes you can really feel it before it happens, and if you really have that sense of understanding, you can catch it before it happens. And even putting that worship music on, I did it quite a bit, because I can always feel when I get really down, and I just completely shut off. I'm like, oh, that's the moment where I need to just lean in more, focus on God.
What do you think starts causing them?
I don't know.
Because I've never been able to figure it out either.
No, the first time I had one, I was literally just trying to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And that was before I was vaccine injured and had shortness of breath.
That's why I think they're demonic. Because they're so random.
They're so random.
Nothing.
I was watching a TV show the other day, and the person on the show was kind of having this panic attack. And I had started kind of having feelings of when I'm like, okay, I need to turn this off. So I don't know, obviously.
That's crazy, eh?
Yeah, I don't know.
But one thing that's cool is that God stops them.
Yeah. Instantly too. It's like you could just take one breath in, and then it's just like, snap right out of it.
Yeah.
And I do that quite often, which, yeah.
Anyway, what's next?
Right. So I was having the panic attacks. I had lost a lot of confidence. I was in a very dark place, and this is when I go back into my antidepressants again. I had gone from taking 25 milligrams, which was what I was taking at the start, and I had actually gone up to taking 75 milligrams.
Wow.
Which was quite a change when you go from taking one lot.
3 times the amount.
Three times the amount, yeah. And I had done that over a few months, and I had kind of told my doctors that I was going to start taking more, because obviously I wasn't doing great. I was just now experiencing the lows. I had no highs, so yeah, I wasn't really doing great.
So was that of antidepressants?
Yep. So it had gone up and up. And this was kind of the stage where I was getting really sick of taking all the pills, because obviously I thought pills were the only thing that were going to solve the situation I was in. And I had always kind of really struggled to open up and to get help. And one thing that I felt was impossible was handing over my fears and my anxieties to God. And I really had to let go of my pills and things, and just remember that, God was there, and he was the one that was going to solve the problems rather than all these things. And I've got 1 Peter 5, 6-7, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's almighty hand, that you may be lifted up in due time. Cast all your anxieties on him, because he cares for you. And I've always struggled with that, because obviously I never wanted to feel like a burden, so I never really put my fears and things into... And I never talked about them, because I was like, oh, I don't want to seem like... And I always kind of just felt like a burden to God. And so that was my hardest thing.
1 Peter in there, where it says cast your anxieties, he's actually acknowledging that anxieties will come. Yeah. And it's good to note that as a Christian. Some people, because there's the other scripture in perfect fear. Yeah. There is in perfect love casts out all fear. Yeah. Old list dexit coming out. Perfect love casts out all fear. So you're going, man, I must not be a Christian then if I'm getting anxious. But 1 Peter's saying that cast your anxieties. In other words, anxieties will come, and when they do, call out to God. And that's what we were just saying before. Yeah. God literally, they disappear. They
disappear. And he loves it when we give our fears to him. He loves it.
Yeah. I mean, it's that mindset, run to the Father, not from him. Yeah. And it's just that constant, it's almost, you got to drill your brain to a reflex of, God help me. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really my turning point, to where I kind of came back to God, because I was like, man, nothing's happening. I've got more anxiety and more depression than I ever had before.
And it's not that you doubted God's existence or your faith dwindled or anything like that. You knew God was real. Yeah. You understood your identity. You weren't lost. No. You were still on the rock, more or less.
He was still
But man, you were in a battle.
I was in a battle. Yeah. Yeah. And then obviously we come to the end of 2021, and this was, 2022 now.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, 2022. And I had decided that I no longer wanted to be in school for my last year. And as soon as I had made my mind up that I wasn't going to school anymore, this weight was completely lifted off me. I still had a bit of doubt that I was going to be missing out on things, but, our school here in Queenstown is not the best. And I knew I was doing the right thing when it was this weight that lifted off. And I don't really know what it is, but there is something like so demonic going on in that school. And people come up to me now and they even ask me, what I think of that school. And, I just give them the look like, do you really want to know? Because it's not great, And because I was also leaving school, some of my teachers didn't really see a future for me. And because I was technically a dropout, I hate that term. I hate the term dropout, but that's what I was doing. I hate the term, but
don't worry about it.
No. But they were like, oh, we don't really see you doing much. You can't even make it to school, because I was barely going. And they had told me that I wouldn't really be able to pursue any of my dreams or anything because, they weren't stable. I was very creative. So, if I went into the world and became a full-time artist, I wasn't going to do a lot of my life. That's kind of what their idea of it was. So they really pushed me into doing childcare, because I was also doing work experience throughout the school where I would leave school for a day and I would go help out at a childcare, which I loved. It was fun, but eventually, it wasn't really what I wanted to do. But I went straight from school. It was like the very next day I just went straight into working, had a few exams, and then just worked.
And is this at the florist?
No, it's the childcare.
Oh, so you went straight to the childcare?
Went straight to the childcare.
Oh, okay, so you were actually considering being a childcare teacher?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to start studying, but I was like, this isn't what I want to do. And it was just very much pushed on me that, other...
And your sister's an amazing childcare teacher as well, so you can see, like, you've got people to talk to about what the career is like. And Yeah, so I definitely had a lot of help around me about making the decision to not really study. But, so 2023 to 2024, so at the very start of 2023, over that Christmas, that summer, I was like, I'm just going to slowly stop taking my pills. And, God had just really said to me, if you have complete trust in me, you don't need to rely on anything else but me. And I was like, oh, okay. So I came off all my painkillers, came off all my codeine and melatonin, and I also came off my antidepressants. And I didn't go to the doctors. I didn't tell them I was going to come off all of this stuff. But, it took a process because you can't just go cold turkey. So it was a process of working through what I had left to slowly start going down. And, 2023 was pretty quiet. After leaving school, my mind had gone completely still. I was just like, oh man, I don't know what it was about the school, but as soon as I was out of there, it was just like still. And I wasn't having any horrible thoughts or anything at this time. And also to mention, I had been, for the most part, healed from my pain and my heart palpitations and my nerves. I was slowly starting to get everything back. Wow.
It was going back to normal, and I think because I had the trust that he was going to take care of me, and because I had put all my anxieties and fears onto him, that it just completely changed.
Amen.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so great.
So, I no longer now deal with any
It's
of the pain.
pretty recent. So just last year and
Just last
this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very start of last year.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so really good.
Because that was roughly the time that we started doing the Bible study stuff as well. Yeah.
I think just before I had started going to that.
Yeah. You started weaning off all the drugs.
Yeah, all the drugs. That was kind of the end of 2022, 2023.
Yeah. Amazing.
But, yeah, and then I stopped going to the doctors for anything because I was like, you're not any help at all. And I actually haven't been to the doctors since 2022 because maybe I might just have a little bit of anxiety about it. But, because...
Trust your body. If you feel good...
I don't need to
go.
But, I did have moments where I would get a bit sick. Obviously, working in a childcare, you were sick all the time.
Yeah.
And when I was sick, things would flare up. My arm would go numb and stuff, and my chest would start having these palpitations again. And I would worry. Like, I wasn't healed overnight.
Yeah.
But I definitely, I saw the effects of God's healing coming into my life. And, it was just so amazing to see. And I had really, started to feel his love again, and I started coming back to church. And, I would, funny enough, because I wasn't in school, I wouldn't really see my friends very much anymore. I did have one other friend, Lola, who I'm very close with, and she was the main friend in school that I would talk to about Jesus and stuff. She'd actually dropped out as well. But whenever I met with my other friends from school, it was just the same dramas and the same, people doing this, that, and the next thing. And I was like, man, I haven't missed anything. And that's when I knew, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm happy I really left school. And it was during this time that I was really thinking about Psalms 121 and, lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And it got me thinking about that whole past year, how the one thing I wasn't doing was looking to God and looking for his help. And I was like, that whole year, to think that it was right in front of me the whole time that I was going through all of this rubbish. It was right there in front of my face. Look to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth.
On.
I was like, oh.
Amen.
It was right there the whole time.
You've been painting it.
I was painting it, and I wasn't feeling it. I was painting. I would sit down, blaming God again while I was painting these pictures and stuff. And I was like, oh man. But yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So you started, obviously, I like how you followed the peace.
Yeah.
This, you're like, I don't know if it's the right choice. And then when you left, it's actually a weight dropped off you.
A weight dropped off.
And a peace came.
Yeah.
And it's so important to follow that peace, And sometimes that peace will lead you into gnarly places, actually. It might be telling you to go to Africa and save the rhinos. I don't know. I don't think they need saving, but, it would take you into gnarly places.
Yeah.
But it's not saying that, so peace and comfortability they sometimes do not go together.
Yeah.
But follow the peace, not the comfort.
Yeah.
And essentially, you weren't really following the comfort. I mean, going into the workforce, in my mind, going to school is a lot easier than going to work.
Well, I actually found that going to school was a lot harder than work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think also because I had never liked school, because I had relationships with people that never worked out, and I made friends with people that weren't of the right crowd.
Right.
And, I was obviously during school doing some dumb things, which I probably don't want to mention because my mum could be listening to this podcast. No, it wasn't dumb. It was, but it wasn't like that often. It would just be sneaking out and stuff. As you do as
we all do that.
A young teenager, yeah. And I was also the last child, so youngest. I kind of got away with a lot more.
We do, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And I think I was looking back at it and I was like, man, if I was in school, I don't think I would have turned back to God. I think I would have tried keeping up with all the other people and, going and doing these other things and having all these other experiences. And I was like, man, I'm so happy that I did what I did and I just truly followed God and I put my trust in him. I was like, oh.
So good.
So good, eh?
Wow.
Yeah. And also around this time, I started helping out at church a lot more. I started helping out at youth because there was a very lovely lady here who was like, you should go join youth. And I'd had it on my heart for quite a bit. She's like, you'd just be a great role model. I was like, man, you don't know the things that I have been through. I'm like, I don't know how I could be a great role model. But
Is that Laura Robinson?
No, it was Adele McCall.
Really?
Yeah, she's like, you'll just be a great example for my girls. And yeah, really lovely. And I was like, oh, yeah.
She is lovely.
She's
Her
lovely.
and John, yeah.
Yeah. And I barely knew them at the time. I was like, okay, I'll just trust this lady and go with what she's,
Yeah.
really just has on her heart. I went up to Maddie, and she's like, oh, you should go talk to Laura. And then I went along, I think it was that next Friday, they were doing like some carnival event, and I was like, oh, I'll just go and help. And yeah, it kind of sucked because I didn't really know anyone. I was a bit lonely, but I kept pushing through. And the next Friday I'd go, and the next Friday I'd go, and then the next Friday I'd go. And it just, you know, it was just a really good habit that was formed. Because, man, I just got addicted to it, eh? I just got addicted to going because, yeah, God's good. And then during that time as well, I ended up leaving the childcare for a few reasons, but the main one just being it wasn't creative enough for me. And after leaving school, I didn't really have my own style. And I didn't really, because being creative is kind of my calling, I just wasn't putting that out in any way. So then I was like, I'll just become a florist. That's literally what I was like, I'll just become a florist. I sent some emails out, got a job straight away pretty much. So I left and then went into that. And also just like going off my teachers who told me that I couldn't really achieve much. I was like, I followed my dreams. I left childcare that you were so heavily putting on me. I went and became a florist. And during this time I also got a certificate in interior decor. I was like, they also thought that wasn't something very...
So that's interior designing?
Yeah. And
Awesome.
they also thought that that wasn't something very, like, stable to be in. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll study it anyway.
No, you can get amazing jobs as an interior designer.
Yeah, and I was also doing some work with an interior designer, and I was loving it. But anyway, I got into the floristry and was loving it, and that's pretty much where I am today.
And you've built your prayer life has increased. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, majorly.
Yeah, worship's amazing. You're really connected into the body of Christ.
Yeah. It's got to be serving all the time, I feel.
Yeah.
It helped my growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really helped.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, you've got to be a functional body, functional piece of the body. Part of the body is probably a better way. A functional part of the body of Christ.
Yeah.
Rather than
just a weak limb.
Yeah.
That kind of just ignores everything to go hang out with children.
Yeah. You don't want to be the limp in the body.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, no, that's so cool. I mean, I've watched you, every Tuesday at the Bible study that we run and seen you go from strength to strength in confidence of like understanding scripture, even teaching, and like
even at youth as well.
Yeah.
Doing a bit more, just like the kids would come up to you because I'm fully like in youth now.
Awesome.
And actually I just had the privilege of being one of the leaders at the youth camp, and while I was there it was just like this moment because 4 years ago that's where I was.
Yeah.
Same time of year. It was the first time I gave my heart to the Lord, and I was just like looking around at these kids like sobbing. I was like, man, this is their moment. Yeah. It was such a cool like experience to be there.
Yeah. And it's a forever turning point.
And like going back 4 years, like I have changed so drastically since then to now. And I was like, man, I'm still here. I'm still standing in the same place.
And the crazy thing,
all I went through.
If you keep focused on God, that journey of how much you strive and grow in Christ never stops.
Never stops.
Like I'm still in my 20s.
Just.
In about 4 days, I'm 30. But it's crazy because I remember this prayer that I've been praying for years and years. Because when you're praying, you're like, I don't even know what to pray for anymore.
Yeah.
A friend of mine told me that if you don't know anything to pray for wisdom.
Yep.
And because in James it talks about somebody who lacks wisdom, pray for it, and it will be given to them. And started praying for this wisdom and what to do and different things. And it's not that it happens overnight, and I don't claim to be a wise person, but I've met up with different high school friends and things like that here and there, and the choices that I've made through prayer have absolutely been fundamentally incredible choices. Like, I don't know, buying property and things like that. I've prayed and fasted about and what I should do with my life, because I, not that I was a dropout, but I was a drop kick at school. I failed everything. I still
Yeah.
stayed at school, but I didn't pass anything.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I was passing everything, but I hated going to school. So I was like, I'm getting out here.
So the teachers absolutely were like, I don't care if you stay, I don't care if you go. Because I wasn't a nuisance. I was a polite kid that was failing. But so they were pretty honest and said, like, you probably will never go to uni, you'll probably never work in a corporate job or anything like that. And I was like, I don't care. I don't want to do that
Look
anyway.
at you now.
Well, it's fine. Like, I literally pray, seek the Lord, fast, and do everything with God.
Yeah.
And you can do whatever, like, honestly, God will lead you to where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
I don't care if I become the richest person on the planet and I don't have God. It's not worth it.
No.
And the Bible talks about what is it if a man gains the world but loses his soul.
Yeah.
And it's better, I think Moses does this. I need to find out where it is in the Bible. There's this story where Moses goes out into the wilderness and he's got this decision, and God says, you can go this way and I'll send my angels with you and you'll win all your battles, but my peace won't go with you.
Yeah.
Or you can go this other direction and it's going to be way harder, but
Yeah.
my peace is going to be with you. And Moses says, I'm going to go that way. I'm going with your peace.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying before, comfort and peace are not the same thing, and they often will maybe not go together.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to strive for. So anybody listening, if they're like, I'm not a success or whatever it is, my question, that's the wrong question to ask.
Yeah.
The question is, are you following the peace of God that's over your life, where God's directing you? Might not be successful, might not be comfort, might be horrible. But if you're following the peace of God, it actually creates a contentness where it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier to live life following that peace.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And once you get that peace, it's just like, woo.
It's quite addictive.
It is very addictive. But
Yeah.
I am also, because of what I've gone through, I've had so many people being able to come up to me and just like tell me how they're doing and like what they're going through. And it reminds me of like when I went to my mum and I first told her about everything and I got that instant healing. And I'm so thankful that God has given me the ability to listen and to understand people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that I'm an instrument of, His grace and His love and His just everything.
So good.
So good. Yeah.
Man. So
Even-
what's the last year been like? Yeah.
Oh, it's just getting better and better. I'm here on this podcast today, and I think that's a major thing for me to be putting my testimony out there and, helping others through what I've been through. And, I actually have it written down here. Before coming on the podcast today, I had some feelings and a little bit of trauma and things that I didn't work through and that I didn't hand over to God. But, I was really feeling unworthy and unfit of coming on to the testimony and on the Jesus Magnet. And I am here today, and the devil was really just trying to drag me down because I was getting pretty worked up about some things that I thought I had worked over. And I actually told you this, but I was in church the other week, and I was like, I just want to be pure like snow. And my name in a few different languages means snow.
Yeah.
I was just like, well, there's like, if that's not a reason.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So I'm
It's
very
how God
thankful.
sees you. You're
Yeah.
covered. You're covered by the blood
Yep.
of Jesus. Yeah. It's so
throughout-
amazing.
Yeah, throughout everything, I'm pure and I'm made like snow.
So great.
Yeah.
Have you got any advice for some of our listeners that are like, let's go with the anxiety one, because I think that's a real it's a growing problem, and the world is full of absolute chaos, constantly trying to get our attention for this and that, almost trying to grab our attention from God. What do you say to these people? How do they, I guess, realize there's an answer to their anxiety?
I just had it right there on my head and I lost it. Hold on. You're going to have to edit this part out.
It's all right.
Just had it.
How do you catch it before it
I can't. That's
before
the
it
thing.
comes?
Even writing out things. I had some really good things to say, but then I say them and then I can't write them out. That's the thing with being a bit creative. You just can't really.
Brain's all over the place.
It is actually all over the place.
Well, what's a way to combat the anxious
right.
thoughts that come?
It's come back to me now.
Go.
that God is bigger than what we're going through, and, he gives us what we can handle. Not that he gives us, but through him we can handle what we are given.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
See, I would have lost it when you were talking. If I had that in my head, I would have lost it completely. But through him we can handle anything. And if you know that Christ is in you and you are like in him, then you can do anything and you can overcome anything.
What do they say? Through Christ, all things are possible.
Yeah.
And it's not through Christ you can do all things that are possible. It's through him those things are possible. Only through him they're possible, not without him.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of misinterpreted, I feel, like when people say it.
Yeah.
Through Christ I can do all things.
Yeah.
And
through
it's like
Christ he strengthens me, or something like that.
It's through Christ can do all things using you as a vessel.
Yeah.
You're not the one doing them.
No.
It's and that's kind of how you put in the anxiety thing, like that God is big.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's an awesome way to put it. You know that old song? My God is big. He's so strong, so mighty.
I don't know that one.
Jesse will remember it if he's listening.
Of course he will.
Cool. Well, thank you, Neve, for coming on to the Jesus Magnet podcast. You have such a powerful testimony. I feel honoured to hear it. And I just know that it's going to affect so many people listening. It's going to affect them for potentially hundreds of years. So that's the cool thing. This testimony could affect your great-grandchild to come to Christ.
And just to remember, I'm only 18, I'm going to be living so many more years.
Yeah, we'll do a part
Christ.
2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a part 3 and a part 4 and a part 5.
Amen.
Amen.
So cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for listening to the Jesus Magnet. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Jesus Magnet podcast. If you enjoyed this, make sure that you connect with us. Find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and if you want to support us, be a member of our coffee club, Jesus Magnet Coffee Club. See you next time on the Jesus Magnet.